All right, joining me now on the programme is the football commentator Chris Sharples. Chris, welcome to Sportuccino. It's great to have you on the show. So, Chris, a huge weekend of football this weekend. What match are you looking forward to most?
Well, I think when you look at the Premier League, obviously Arsenal and Manchester United is the number one fixture of the weekend, isn't it? You say Jose's never lost to Arsene Wenger, but all records have to come to an end at some point, don't they? And Arsenal are banging form at the moment in the Premier League, and chasing and hunting down Liverpool and Chelsea at the top. Manchester United needed that win against Swansea last week. There's no doubt about that. They needed something, and it's a big week for United as well with this today, and also a Europa League campaign, which at Old Trafford will see Feyenoord come on Thursday, and they really need to win that as well before being back at home, I think, again against West Ham. So, big games coming up for both, but that's the main one that stands out for me, Richard, certainly.
How big a loss do you think it will be not having Ibrahimovic on Saturday?
Well, he's a goal scorer. I mean, back to form against Swansea. He took his goals really well. It's not for the fact that he's not been getting in the right positions that he's, one of the reasons why he's just not been scoring. All strikers go through bad spells in front of goal, and Zlatan's just been going through one at the start of this season. So it will be a big miss. Everything else that he brings, his experience that he brings to the United team, and he's certainly been one of the, I think he's still been one of the better players in the United squad this season, considering how poorly United have been at times. But it'll give an opportunity for others, whether Marcus Rashford is given the chance to be the main man up top this time. And Wayne Rooney apparently has been declared fit, that he will be playing, or he'll have some role. He probably will start now, won't he, with Zlatan Ibrahimovic not featuring. So, United do still have options. They do have goals in them, and they just needed a little bit of luck in front of goal in recent matches. So this will be a real test for Arsenal, in particular away from home. At Old Trafford, they were very poor last season in the 3-1. 3-0 defeat, if I remember, when Rashford scored twice. So they'll be wanting a response, certainly, and and like I say, keeping the heat on Liverpool and Chelsea at the top of the tree.
Yeah. Does this feel for you like this is a game Arsenal have to win if they're really going to fight for the title, if they are genuine title contenders, or can they get away with just getting a point at Old Trafford?
I know it's too early, isn't it? I mean, it's only going to be the 12th game of the season, so and it's so tight up there. Obviously, you want to send down a message to the rest of your title contenders that you can go to places like Old Trafford and win. And Arsenal do have it in them. They've got some confidence behind them at the moment, and they do have it in them to go there. And they're forever reminding Manchester United fans about what happened when they won the title there. They can go there, different team now, of course, but they can go there and upset United, who are, inconsistent to say the least. But Arsenal need to be consistent against the big sides, and especially away from home. So I wouldn't say it's a must-win game, but it would certainly send out a real message to the rest of the Premier League that they are certainly going to be title contenders once again.
And are we expecting anything other than a win, do you think, for Man City away at Palace and Liverpool away at Southampton?
I don't know about Liverpool at Southampton. That could be a tricky one. It's the thing with Liverpool, isn't there? You can have them down on paper to go and win somewhere, and all of a sudden they will be beaten hands down, as they were at Burnley, for example, at the start of the season. Liverpool need consistency. I think they're getting it at the moment, and they are top of the league, and deservedly so. But Southampton at St Mary's will be a tough ask, and they'll certainly be up for that. The Saints. It'd be interesting though to see how they will fare, Southampton, and looking ahead to how they're going to progress in Europe as well. It's a big season for Southampton, and this whole Premier League and Europe and fighting on so many fronts. It's a new thing for them, and Liverpool coming to St Mary's, I think it'll be an excellent game. But I it wouldn't surprise me if it was a draw in that one, to be fair. Manchester City have been excellent, and Crystal Palace have just been woeful. I think they've lost the last 4 games. So at the moment, Palace are certainly looking over their shoulders and feeling the heat. It could be another long slog for them in the Premier League this season.
And Chris, you're a German football commentator. You know a lot about that league. And of course, there's that huge game between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich this Saturday.
Is there? Is there? Oh.
Do you consider these two sides the two main challenges, or are we going to get teams such as Leipzig, Hoffenheim, Hertha Berlin? Are they going to sustain challenges this season?
I think it'd be very interesting to see whether the likes of Leipzig and Hoffenheim, and not to forget Hertha Berlin are up there as well, who've been excellent and so far in the first 10 games. Dortmund and Bayern are the 2 biggest sides in Germany, and you'd expect them to be fighting it out for the title year in, year out, which they do. But the story of Leipzig at the moment has been magnificent, whether you like it or not, from a German football supporter point of view. They've been excellent, and they are, along with Bayern and along with Hoffenheim, unbeaten. Hoffenheim themselves, with Julian Nagelsmann, their coach, the youngest coach in the Bundesliga, he's not even clocked 30 yet, and he's been working wonders in stabilising Hoffenheim and building a team of young, hungry players, and it's certainly proving effective at the moment. Dortmund and Bayern is always a massive game. They've met in the Super Cup already this season. It's going to be frantic, and it's 2 sides who can certainly score goals. They've got they've got strikers up top who certainly have a taste for goals. Aubameyang, after his little suspension and time off from the side, comes back in and bags a hat-trick in his first game back. So, goals are plenty, but I think Dortmund could do with a victory over Bayern, to be honest. It's a long time since they've tasted a victory over Bayern in the Bundesliga, and maybe it will come this weekend. Who knows?
Do you know some of the team news there, Chris? Do you know some of the players available for the game?
Well, I think the main thing is that Marco Reus could be back in contention for Dortmund, and that'd be interesting as he goes back to Bayern. Mats Hummels the other way around. It'd be interesting to see what sort of reception he will get from the Dortmund supporters also. But they've got players plenty. It doesn't matter who you bring in, really, for both sides. You've got players plenty with absolute quality. And I think it's going to be a typical Klassiker on Saturday, certainly.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of when they've got them all together, that you've got Royce, Goetze and Schürrle in that kind of that forward 3 just behind Aubameyang. Have they played that much at all?
It's a frightening combination, isn't it? And they are players who, when they do click, again, like I say, it really is a formidable force. And when they come together and get into their stride, they will hurt anybody. It doesn't matter who they play against. So. Whether they all start on Saturday, I think will be an intriguing prospect to see how Bayern can cope with that, and certainly when they're facing the wall as well, those 4 certainly could put Bayern to the sword, who've been edgy. It has to be said, they haven't been playing their most fluid football recently, and they've got a Champions League tie away in Russia to come in midweek also. Whereas Dortmund have been going along nicely in the Champions League. So, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if Dortmund were to overcome Bayern this weekend. And I just think Klassikers just get better and better every time you watch them. So hopefully it'll get even better this time around.
Yeah, where do you think the Bundesliga ranks in the global leagues right now? What do you think is the best league in the world, and how would you rate kind of the top 3?
Oh, best league in the world. It's very difficult because they're all so different, Richard. I think the Bundesliga is trying to get there as a global product. It's still growing and growing, and the Premier League is so far from anywhere else as a product. Whereas on the pitch, the competitiveness of the Bundesliga is fantastic, and you'll never be. I've never been disappointed by watching or covering a Bundesliga game since I started doing it. The Premier League, from a playing point of view, you mentioned West Brom against Burnley on Monday. A game that you're mostly looking forward to. A lot of people will look at that and think, well, it's West Brom and Burnley. It's going to be a drab Monday night game, and don't really get up for it. But when you can look at some of the German games, and the battle of the Stads, Darmstadt and Ingolstadt coming up this weekend, a huge game down at the bottom end. My games, 9th against 10th in Mainz against Freiburg. There's always a real competitive edge to it. And that's something that I really do like about the Bundesliga. Whereas you've got, the absolute technical side of things with the Spanish game, which is a lot slower at times. And I would certainly rate the Bundesliga up there as a competitive game. Product-wise, I think they've still got a bit to go yet before they're knocking on the door of the Premier League.
Well, let's just briefly touch on the big game in Spain, Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid. The last time this derby will be played at the Vicente Calderón. It's also the first time these two sides have met since that Champions League final, which Real won on penalties. Atletico is 6 points behind Real right now. How do you think their team compares this season compared to last season?
Real Madrid?
Atletico Madrid right now.
Atletico Madrid, apologies. Any side that Diego Simeone puts out is always going to be a fiercely competitive side. And they've got a player in the likes of Antoine Griezmann who just continues to step up his game every week. Whether they're a better side, I don't know. I think you'll find that out come the end of the season, I think, as to where they're going to finish and whether they be crowned champions or not. But there's certainly, like I said, it doesn't matter what side Diego Simeone puts out and who he brings in. You know that they are going to be a real force and a real physical force as well. And this is going to be a tasty one. It really is. The last one at the Calderón, as you say, 50 years they've been there, and before they move to their new home. And if they don't win this, I think it'll leave a real sour taste in the mouth of Atletico fans, knowing what sort of occasion it's going to be.
Where do you rank Griezmann as far as the list of top players in the world? Is he top 10, top 5, top 3 even?
I think he's certainly up there as in the top 5, maybe sort of pushing the top 3. He is phenomenal, and hey, you never know if you to believe some reports that he could be in the Premier League a lot sooner than what you think after his certain comments, which have kind of been taken out of context. What he was talking about Paul Pogba and speaking to him a lot, and would like to play with him in the same side again. So he's certainly up there. He's a player of absolute talent. I remember seeing him when he was at Sociedad, and I remember commentating on a Champions League playoff game at Olympique Lyonnais, and he scored a worldie of an overhead kick against Lyon for Sociedad, and it was you knew then that he was a talent, and he was going to be knocking on the door of the top players in the world. Not quite up there with the likes of Messi, Aguero, and Ronaldo at the moment, but he's certainly right behind them. And what a fantastic player to have in your ranks, certainly what he offers and what he brings.
Definitely. Well, you brought some great knowledge to our show today, Chris. Thank you so much for being on Sportuccino this morning. Just quickly before you go, tell us how we can continue to follow everything you're up to on social media, maybe your Twitter handle, etc., please.
Yeah, so follow me on Twitter at Chris Sharples. It's a really original Twitter handle to follow. So please follow me on that. I'll be commentating on the Bundesliga this weekend. So yeah, please follow me on that. That would be great.
Chris, thank you so much for being on Sportuccino this morning. It's been great to speak to you.
Thanks, Richard.
Great to hear from Chris there on Sportuccino this morning.